2, 1.
Good morning, afternoon, whatever. It's cold. I don't like the cold. We've got a nice fire on, so it's actually quite cozy in here. So we are bracing for yet another storm. We've got one coming in tomorrow. The other one was kind of a non event. We got a little bit of snow, not a lot. And it was more blustery and stormy yesterday than it was during the actual storm. So who knows what the next one will bring, although the doomsayers are saying we're going to get a fairly good dump of snow, and the rest of us will believe it when we see it. So that is our weather here. Although the sun is shining, tomorrow is going to start getting really gray and gloomy and storm laden. So we're in for a cold and blustery day tomorrow. Today, however, we get to do something springy, and we're going to paint the Earth Laughs and Flowers. And I love this one, but I love daffodils and I love tulips and I love all the colors in this. I don't usually do pastels. It's not really my thing, but I think we need a shot of bright and sunny and happy color right now. So that's what we're doing today. But before we get to that, I got to talk about a couple of things. First, I'll talk about the giveaways that we have for today. We have a gorgeous set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel specialty brushes. So we have two reservoir liner brushes. They are in two different sizes. They're excellent. And then we also have one of the jumbo watercolor rounds. And I do believe we have one of the feather fans, which is a really nice, big, soft fan brush. So we have one of those as well. Plus, we have some other goodies enclosed in there as well. So all kinds of fun stuff going out this week. We have 3 of those to give away. So all of you will have an opportunity to get your name on the wheel. All you have to do is just join in the conversation. Say hi, say good morning, hit all the buttons, the shares, the subscribes, whatnot, and then join us for a fun afternoon of painting. Which brings me to the other thing I've been so excited to talk about. We have a new website launching today. It is not fully loaded yet, but we're getting there. It's taking a bit of time to load everything into it, but we have a new website launching today for our Canadian followers. So everything is in Canadian dollars. Everything is sourced in Canada. There's actually very little very little of what we have on this site is from overseas. There are a few items, but not too much. So we're trying to source everything from Canada as much as we possibly can. So all of my Canadian followers will now be able to shop in Canadian dollars. They'll be able to do get all of their patterns and their surfaces, and we'll be shipping through Canadian means. So you guys will not have to worry about any of that anymore. It is literally a copy of the existing website, tracymoreau.net. It's just geared towards our Canadian followers. So you'll be able to go there to find patterns, free downloads, printables, recipes. Everything that you find on my site will be on the other site. So the new one is called Tracy Creates. And if you're visiting tracymoreau.net, if you look at the top menu, you will see Visit Our Canadian Site. In there, our new Canadian site. You can click on that link and it'll take you directly to our new Canadian site, or you can simply type in www.tracycreates.net. And everything, as I said, we are loading stuff in. It's a big job. So we have some of the most popular surfaces and, of course, as many of the new patterns as we can get in there. Be patient with us. We still have quite a bit of work to do. So check it out. And even my YouTube membership group will be able to access all of their downloads. My Canadian followers will be able to access their membership benefits through this website as well. So I'm so excited. So if you are Canadian and you usually shop my website, tracymoreau.net, you can go over to Tracy Creates and just set up an account there, and we'll grant you access. If you're a member, we'll grant you access to your membership section, which is already set up. And nothing will change, except that you'll be dealing with everything in Canadian dollars, which is a nice change. It took some time and it took a lot of work, but we managed to get it done. So I hope you really like this new Canadian site, guys. I'm quite proud of it. And it's, as I said, it's taken a bit of time to get it there. So I'm really happy and really proud of it. So hopefully it all works well. So, but if you have any issues or any problems, please don't hesitate to send me a message. And if you have comments or concerns, or if there's a problem with the site, we would love to know, because if we don't know, we can't fix it. So awesome. And for the all of my friends and followers in the United States, nothing changes for you, except you're going to see more sales and more perks available on the website, just like my Canadian followers. So trying to be as helpful and as grateful as I possibly can. So thank you so much for your support. And hopefully you guys will like the new site too. Awesome. I'm going to say hello to a few people. Hi, Sue. Sue Potts is here. Sheila Landry. Mwah! I love you, sweetheart. And Linda Duff. Karen Jones. Hello, sweetheart. And Brenda Owen. Hello. All my Canadian girls are here. Awesome. Louise Long. Hello, sweetheart. Linda Sifranco. Hello, darling. Dee Stratton Kitzmiller. Hello. Welcome. Linda Schultz, hello, from Northern New York. Anna Fleury, hello. Faye Reed, hi, sweetheart. Ann Fogg, hello. Kay Reynolds, my goodness, everybody's here. And my girl Sandy McTeer is here. Hello, sweetheart. And Judy Thacker, Andrea George, Carrie Siebold. Oh my goodness, you guys are all here today. I'm so excited. Great day to launch a new website. My girl Deb launched a Canadian site as well this week. So don't forget to go and check out Deb's two websites. She's got the paintingwithdeb.com, and she also has a touch of Primsy. So go and check out those two websites that she's got going. She's going to be supplying surfaces for a variety of designers. So if you're looking for things from Renee Mullins and other things, and you live in Canada and you're not sure where to go and check her out. She's going to have all kinds of fun stuff on her site too. Hi, Lynn. Nice to see you here too. And Kathy Pruitt, hello. And Robin Storm. Oh my goodness, everybody's here. Hi, Deanna. And Val Clemens, hello. Oh my goodness, you guys are ready to rock and roll today. So we're going to be painting The Earth Laughs in Flowers. I really like this piece, but I like simple, and I love daffodils, and I love daisies, and I like lots of color. And so this is the piece that we're painting today. This one right here. This is The Earth Laughs in Flowers. So if you guys are ready to get started, so am I.
Puppy.
Oh, goodness. Sorry, guys. Hi. Maze is here. Okay, there she is. And she's got her new vest on. It says, do not pet. I should have that. I should have that shirt and wear it to Walmart.
Why are you being pet at Walmart?
No, I just, do not touch, do not pet, do not interact with.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone, yeah. Don't talk to me. It's for your safety. You ready to go, Papa Dog?
You ready to go?
Yep, she's ready for a walk. Okay, see you later. Okay, so I guess now we're ready to paint. So this is the one we're painting today. I love this. There's something about daffodils. Everybody needs some color. Yeah. Miss Sandy's right on the ball this morning. Oh my goodness. She does. Miss Sandy, she's the dearest thing to me. Every Saturday morning, without fail, I will get a text message from Sandy telling me to have a great live today. She's just awesome. And some mornings I really need that little shot in the arm. But I forgot to send her a thank you this morning. So I just got so busy with a bunch of things today that I forgot. Oh my goodness. Sue, I'm with you. I don't think there's anything prettier in the springtime than daffodils. I just love them. There's Claudette Hunter. Hi, Claudette. If you're just joining us, Claudette, I launched a brand new Canadian website today. Everything, so don't forget to go and check it out. It's called Tracy Creates. So www.tracycreates.net. If you're interested, go and have a look. And if you have any comments or questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to let me know. So, the earth laughs in flowers. Now, the pattern for this one has two designs. It's the same design, but I did it with a slightly different surface. So, it has both of them in there, and this is the one I'm working on today, which is that tombstone panel. It is a 10 by 6.5. And it's a nice little surface. So I have my line drawing right here. As you can see, it's the same design. I've just rearranged it to fit this surface. Did I, Linda, did I forget to cross the F in flowers? I did. I just noticed it. Oh my gosh. Well, hello. You ever have one of those days? Obviously, I haven't had a few this week. Fine. There we go. It's there. See? That's pretty sharp because I've been looking at this thing all week. Right? Couldn't see it for the forest for the trees things. You got me, yes. Oh my goodness. There's Carol Colbert. Hello, Carol. There we go. So we're going to start with a background on this one. This is a fun piece to do. It is not, nothing about this is heavily structured. This one is very loose and very easy to go, to work on. So we're going to start with our background. Now my base color for this one is Sweet Mint. I really like this color. It's a little pastel-y for me, but of course then I have to amp it up. I have to make it into a slightly different color. So this is Sweet Mint. That is what we've got on here. 2 coats of Sweet Mint for our background. And we're going to work with a little bit of warm white. And the stencil that I'm using is this one. This is a 1/4 inch polka dot. And the item number is M222. It's an M square stencil. And I'm going to tape it in place. I don't like it when my stencil shifts. Have I heard from Net yet? They haven't announced the... They have not announced the teacher's list yet. They haven't finished making their selections. So as soon as I know, I will let you know. But I'm getting really excited because I'm really looking forward to doing Net. I missed going to convention last year. I'm determined not to be sick this year. I spent too much time sick last year. I'm not doing that this year. I'm taking my vitamins, doing all the things. I refuse to get sick. It's probably whether or male. Yes, Carol, as soon as I get done here, I will go track that down for you. There we are. So we're going to put polka dots on this background using warm white. And I'm going to dry that real quick so I don't smear polka dots, because that would be me. Oh, Karen, come down with a winter cold. That's not fun. I have gotten every shot that I could possibly get. to make sure I don't get sick again. The only one I can't get yet is the shingles vaccine. I have to wait until the end of June for that one. But like I said, I'm determined not to get sick. I spent too much of it. It's too much of my time fighting one thing or another last year. So, hi, Jess. Everybody's bracing for the snowstorm tomorrow. They're telling us we're going to see a fair amount of snow. So, again, I'll believe it when I see it. They keep promising me a lot of snow, but I don't see it. I'm that crazy person that loves all the snow. I also love spring and I love summer, but I love a good snowstorm and I haven't seen a good one yet. So I am looking forward to this. I think it's because I love all of the snow. It better be, Linda Morgan. It better be my healthy year. I'm doing all the things. Taking the vitamins, taking the medication, doing all the things. So, I've got my asthma under control, which is nice. It's so nice to be able to breathe. You don't really notice or appreciate breathing until you can't. So I don't want to go through that again. So I went, my doctor advised me to get my flu shots and my boosters and all of that good stuff. So I did, because of the asthma, it puts me in a high risk. So I don't want to deal with that anymore. So I've got polka dots everywhere. I love polka dots. So I'm going to dry this really well. Thanks, Sandy. Appreciate you putting that link up. So, once you have all of those polka dots on, you're going to just lightly distress them. This has two purposes. One, gives you a nice smooth surface, but it also softens the overall look of those dots. We don't want them to be really harsh, bright things. So, I like to give them a nice light sanding. So they're a little worn and they're a little soft and they're not so high a contrast. We want them to kind of look subdued. So I've got those nicely distressed. And then we're going to add a little depth to this. Okay, you can't imagine living where we get so much snow. It popped up in my memories the other day. In 2017, we had a snowstorm here that left us with 80 centimeters of snow on top of the already 50 we had. And so we ended up with, a meter and a half of snow, which was like 4.5 feet in 2 snowstorms. It's a lot of snow. But we do get that from time to time. But in the last few years, we haven't. So we're kind of bracing for it because they're saying we're going to get about 40 centimeters tomorrow. And if it's slow moving storm, we could get more than that. So we just, hang on and see what happens. So the shading color for this piece is teal mint. This is such a great color. This is like that softer version of mermaid tail. It's halfway between I love this. It's a nice tone. It's not super strong and it's not obnoxious. So I'm going to use a nice wide angled shader to do this. And I'm going to use a little bit of Joe Sonia. Ooh, goodness. Oh, you guys are really getting the snow today. We're getting it tomorrow. Oh, we've had winters where we've had a lot more than that. That was just in 2 snowstorms. I've seen it where we had close to 16 feet of snow by the end of the winter. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that teal mint, and we're going to put a nice wide float all the way around the outside edge. And I like to pay particular attention to the corners. I like my corners to be rounded out a little bit. Gives them a little depth. Bring a little depth into those corners. Round them out so that there's a soft element to that. The beauty of snow is that it eventually melts. Yeah, it does. Oh no, Robin, it's beautiful. But you're a southerner, my love. You're not used to cold weather. We are. I like the silence that snow brings. There's nothing like the day after a big snowstorm. It's like the earth is wearing a muffler. You know? Everything is so quiet. And it's so lovely. I love a good storm. I love a good thunderstorm. I love a good snowstorm. It's because of what comes after it. I love petrichor. I love the smell of just before it rains and just after. The earth gets a good drink. I love it. So we've got nice little float all the way around the outside edge. I love this color. This is a really nice transition color for that sweet mint. It's a deep, almost a jewel tone. Almost a jewel tone. Yeah. Sheila, I know what you mean. I love cozy weather too. There's nothing nicer than seeing the snowfall outside and having a nice fire going in the family room. We turned our old family room into the dining room and then converted the old dining room, into a computer room. And we love it. Having dinner with a nice fire going. And then living room. We don't have a formal living room. We have a max relax living room. That's our family room. Kathy McAllister, you're a southerner who now lives in winter country. I'll say you don't like it in May? Why? What's in May? May in Colorado? What's wrong with May in Colorado? Hi, Dawn. Oh my goodness. Marjorie, you know what, hon? I went through that last year. I went through about 3 rounds of antibiotics, and I ended up going back because I was still having a lot of symptoms and a lot of trouble. And they put me on a high test version that they reserve for things that are antibiotic resistant. And that took care of it, but it took quite a while. I was having symptoms for close to 6 months by the time I finally got somebody to take care of it. Here we go. It's So I'm loving it. I wanted it a little deeper, so I just put another quick float around. We'll dry this, and then we're going to deepen that a little bit with a float of asphaltum. You really didn't think I was going to go this whole piece without painting something. You get tornadoes? Oh yes, Colorado does get tornadoes. One of my first trips to Colorado, I literally got off the plane and went right into a storm shelter. So we're going to deepen that outside edge with a float of heavily thinned asphaltum. You don't want this really dark. We're not looking to make it dark. We're just looking to tone it a little bit. So I'm going to put float of that thinned, heavily thinned asphaltum all the way around the outside edge. I like a little of this. It does wonderful things for almost any color. It just deepens it, but it doesn't drastically change the color. But it does deepen it. And that's what I like. I like that it gives you a little depth without making it look dirty. Carol Cobert, asphaltum, what is that? Asphaltum is my favorite color. I know it sounds funny to say that, you know, this dirty brown is my favorite color. But asphaltum is, although it looks like a brown, it's actually a yellow. It's a very dark, deep, murky yellow. It's a yellow-based brown tone. It's very transparent, and I use it for so many things. It is an Americana color called asphaltum. If you need the item number, it is DA180, right there. And I use it all the time. It's rare that you see a pattern of mine that doesn't have asphaltum in it. I use it for so many things. My antiquing color, my toning color, my shading color, it's my everything color. I use it all the time. So I'm going to dry this. Now, the fun part about this is if you want this to stay nice and light, you can just leave it as is. Carol's poking me. Yes, jadeite glass is very similar to sweet mint. It's a little deeper, just a little. So, now, if you look at these two, this one has a little more of this mint color, this teal mint color in it, just a little. As I was painting it, I found it was getting a little too bright. And so I just subdued it a little with just a wash of that teal mint to shade around the edges. But if you want to keep it nice and sunny, like I do in this one, I want to keep this a little bit brighter this time around. I'm just putting that asphaltum at the outside edge, and I'm leaving the center portion nice and light. So at this point, we are ready to trace and transfer our design. And you might have noticed that when I put my line drawings in, and I specify a surface, I make sure that the line drawing is inside the shape of that piece. So I like to cut out my line drawing. I make a photocopy and I cut it out. And I'll show you why in just a second. I got into the habit of doing this, partially because I designed it and I just find this such an easy way to do it. So there is my line drawing. I cut it out, and that way I can position it on my surface like so. Good gravy, Marie. I'm going to position it from the bottom. Now we're going to have a little space at the top. That's okay. See? That is okay. the sides and the bottom are going to line up, and that's where it's the most important, sides and bottom. So I'm going to take a piece of painter's tape, sides and bottom, and I'm going to tape it right here so that it keeps that edge, and I'm going to do the same thing down here inside the tulip. So it's like a book. And then I'm going to use some white graphite, I think. Maybe. I'll make sure it shows up. I think I'll use a little bit of gray. Gray might work better. So I'm going to put some gray graphite in. Make sure that line drawing is pulled nice and snug. And then I'm going to use my red pen. And we're going to trace the daffodils and the tulips. You don't need to press hard to do that if you're using one of these pens. It has a very fine tip. And that stainless steel ball in there helps give you a really nice transfer without having to press so hard. And using that red ink ensures that you can see where you've already been. Oops. Just like so. And then just trace on your tulips and all of the detail. You'll notice that there's not a ton of detail in this line drawing. You don't need it because you're going to paint most of it in. And transferring a whole bunch of little tiny lines is rather pointless and unnecessary at this point. So a quick transfer. I love anything to do with spring. I love the colors. And we're going to be doing a botanical next week using a mixed media. We're going to be doing an old Dutch version of tulip, a very elaborate tulip. We're going to have some fun with it. And we're going to be using some stamps and some stencils and some paper. And for those of you that love playing in mixed media and paper supplies and whatnot, you're going to love next week's class. And the pattern for that will be up on Monday. I'm so excited. I've had so many ideas for spring and for summer that my brain is just in high gear lately. And I've had so many other things on my plate that I haven't had time to sit down and paint. So I'm really looking forward to just sitting and painting today. It's been a very busy week getting that site ready. Finalizing a whole bunch of things. It's been a work in progress. But I've been working at it for the last few months. I started on it in early October last year. And there was lots of ducks to get in rows. So I finally got pretty much everything lined up. And then with Deb's help the other day, I was migrating a bunch of product in and migrating a bunch of other things to make sure everything worked seamlessly. And of course, being technology, ran into a few issues. But managed to get the worst of them sorted out. And so now it's just inputting product. Some of it migrated, but it didn't migrate properly. So there's a lot of it that we just decided to do it manually. And so it's going to take a little bit of time before everything is in the site. But at the same time, it gives us an opportunity to clean up a bunch of things as well. So it's all good. And I'm quite pleased with it. I'm pleased with the results thus far. So here we go. We're going to put that butterfly in there. I'm not going to put the details on there just yet. I don't see the need at this point. And I have to remember to cross my F, Sheila. Now, the font that I used here, I just love this. It's sort of a handwritten script. And it really works well. I wanted this to have a bit more of a contemporary feel to it, so less folk arty and a bit more modern. So I chose this font. I think it works really well. And it's fun because you get to use a big old marker to do it with. So we're using a Posca paint pen in black to do the lettering. Super simple, right? So I think I'll just make a quick check here, but I think oh goodness. I thinked too soon. Here we go. You know, some days that elevator doesn't go all the way to the top floor. Like some sauce. There we go. A couple of little spots that I'm missing that are easy to line up. There we go. But I think we got it all. So the nice part about having this taped on this way is that I can flip it around to the back. And then when it comes time, I'll be able to put the details on my butterfly. And I can also add whatever I need to add or adjust anything that I need to adjust without having to worry about the line drawing, having to tape it back on and get it just so. So we are good to go. So this one is actually very straightforward. This is not a difficult piece to paint. I decided to go with some real basics. So we're going to be using a poodle skirt pink and wisteria for our, oh my gosh, English is the second language today, for our tulips. And we're going to be using a baby duck for the daffodils. This has very quickly become one of my favorite colors, this baby duck. So we're going to start with a little bit of baby duck on our daffodils. And I'm going to be using a round for this. The nice thing is, especially with this baby duck, is that it's a fairly opaque yellow, which you don't often get. It's not often you find a yellow that covers as well as this one does. Most of the time they're heavily influenced by the color that's underneath them. But this baby duck is opaque enough that you can generally get full coverage in two fairly thin coats. So, look at that. Such a pretty yellow. So I'm going to base my daffodil with some baby duck. I'm going to start with all of those petals at the outside, like so. And as I'm base coating, I'm pulling the color back towards the center of the flower. Meaning all the brush strokes are all going in one direction. I'm not just Mod Podging it in there. It's not a hodgepodge of color, but all of those brush marks are all going in one direction. This is going to help us towards the end as well. Such a pretty color. And I know some of you are getting your new decor colors are beginning to arrive. I don't have mine yet. They are on their way. I'm so excited. Miss Sandy did an absolutely amazing unboxing video live last week to show off all of these amazing new colors, and they are awesome. I cannot wait to play. I don't know if that's available on her page or if it's just on her group page, but her unboxing of those new colors is just simply spectacular. So go and check it out. I'm going to be unboxing mine too, so keep your eyes peeled. But I'm so excited about those new colors. I always get excited about the new colors every year. They're just, it's a new toy. And that it has so much potential every year. So we'll talk about their opacity and their coverage and all of those good things. And there's so much more. There we are. Let's see. Yeah, her screen is a little blurry. Oh, that little blurry is actually the camera trying to focus. It corrects itself in a minute. That's the autofocus on my cameras that does that. Yeah. There we go. Well, sadly, when we get new colors, it also means that there's probably going to be some that are discontinued. Because the market changes, certain colors don't move or sell the way they used to. And the market demands change as well. And so companies like Decor and Folk Art have to work very hard to establish which of those colors are the most reasonable ones to remove. They don't want to negatively impact their customers, but at the same time, you can't keep adding colors without taking some away. So it is unfortunate, but essential. So, and I can tell you from experience of years working with Decor Art that it is not a decision that they make lightly by any stretch of the imagination. And they take so many things into consideration when they're making those decisions. Both Sandy and I have the privilege to sit on the council that assists Decor Art in making these decisions. And so it is not an easy one, and it's time consuming. So, and for some, it is frustrating having colors that they use often be eliminated from their from the lineup. However, there is no color that is irreplaceable. So it's, as I said, it is not an easy decision for these manufacturers to make when it comes time to decide which colors are going to be eliminated. And there's a great deal of time and effort goes into making those decisions. There we are. So as you can see, when you look at how I base coat these things, I usually leave a little space in between. And when I'm putting down a base coat. And the reason for that is quite simple. It just gives me a guideline. Do I know when? I don't have a timeline for that just yet. No. For my friends in Canada that are waiting on the new colors, Country Bear has them ordered and they are on their way. So they should be here rather soon. So there, I've got my daffodils based in with that baby duck. I'm sure you will not let them discontinue asphaltum. I'm pretty sure I'm the sole reason to keep that color. Asphaltum, I go through an awful ton of it. I probably make up most of their sales for the year. So we're going to base coat a couple of these tulips with wisteria. Quite enamored with this color. Not a color I've used often, but I'm quite loving it. So I'm going to base coat one of these tulips with wisteria. Such a neat purple. It's got a little gray in it. It's not a really in-your-face purple, but it's so pretty. And it's an elegant color. You can pair this color, good grief. You can pair this wisteria with a gray and it's so elegant. It's just such a pretty, pretty tone. And it's also gorgeous with greens in the same tone. It looks great with green. But when it comes up against this baby duck, it's just so pretty. That rich, the purple really comes out in it when you put it up next to that yellow. And I'm going to base coat this one with that wisteria as well. Rich tone, so pretty. So as I go this week, I'm going to be adding a links page on the new website for Canadian distributors and suppliers all over Canada. If you have suggestions for local art supply in Canada, please let me know. I'm more than happy to put those in. If you have a favorite. And to my friends in the States, tracymoreau.net, please, if you have suppliers that you like that are perhaps not the usual path, please let me know. I'm more than happy to put a link on our links page for it. So there we go. We've got wisteria. And then we're going to put the pink tulips with this. This is poodle skirt pink. I wanted these to have more of a painterly feel, less of a base coat shade and highlight feel. And so the colors, the way the colors are put on reflects that. The Michaels stores carried the top 100 colors. So the top 100 selling colors from the previous year are generally what you find in Michaels. And they don't deviate too often. So every couple of years or so, they will update their color choices for that top 100. But that is generally how they select the colors that they're going to carry in the Michaels stores. Top 100. I have noticed, however, that Michaels has been increasing their mediums and specialty products, which is nice to see. Because for a very long time, they didn't do that. So, there we go. There. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we just have the leaves to base in. And then we get to decide what color we're going to make that butterfly up there. So we can make it either pink or purple. Either or. I'm thinking it's going to be a pink one. I've got a lot of purple showing and not a lot of pink. So I'm going to paint our butterfly with pink. So again, I'm using that poodle skirt pink for our butterfly. See, we have a smaller Michaels where I live. I don't think ours is a corporate store. I think it's one of the chain stores. But it carries a full complement of the top 100 colors. And it's actually, and our manager at our Michaels is fabulous. The girl that runs ours is just out of this world. She's fantastic. She does a great job of running that store. It's always clean, it's always neat, and it's, she keeps it reasonably well stocked. I say reasonably well because they are, the store managers are limited as to what they can bring in, so, but ours is actually pretty good. So there is our pink butterfly. Hi, Roxy. Welcome. Glad you could join us live. Hi, Patsy. Good to have you with us. Carolyn, hello. Better late than never, darling. Glad to have you with us, Roxy. Where are you located, Roxy? That's a pretty good guess, Robin. With plaid based in Atlanta, yeah, I could see that. You're in Edmonton, right on. Well, Roxy, you'll be happy to know that I launched a Canadian website today. So we're going to be stocking a bunch of new products, a bunch of Canadian products, Canadian suppliers, etc. on the new site. So have a look at it. I'm excited about it. So we're going to use, you can use antique green or lush green for the leaves. I'm going to use lush green. Tends to be my favorite green these days. I gravitate towards this lush green. So we're going to use lush green for all these leaves. Now, when I'm painting all of this stuff, in my typical fashion, I rarely put more than one coat on anything. If you've painted anything of mine, you know that I rarely put more than one coat of anything on. Unless it's a really transparent color, and then I'll put a couple of coats on. But generally, I prefer to do things in one coat because I'm usually putting more than one color on, so multiple colors for a base coat is often not necessary. But this lush green tends to be a little on the transparent side, just like the antique green. Just a little, it's not horrible. But I like how this color goes on. They're very similar. Antique green and lush green, they're very similar. And the lush green is just a little bit more opaque than antique green. Tonal wise, they're very similar. So for me, they're interchangeable. Carol, I'm with you. I love Hobby Lobby, much to my own detriment. If I'm in the States, I'm going to find the nearest Hobby Lobby because I just love it. So many fun things in it. If you're a crafter or a painter, or if you just love, home decor and things like that, it's a great store. And it's also a very dangerous one for me to be in. Especially if I'm with my partner in crime. If Deb is with me, we're in big trouble. And even if she's not with me, I'm in big trouble because our rule is I have to buy two. If I get one for me, I have to get one for her. It's how it works. And vice versa. Happy painting, Roxy. Enjoy your day. La da da dum. Oh, there's a really good thing. That's a really good thing there's not one close by because it would be dangerous. It's bad enough when I find a Desserts store. I love Desserts. There's one in Halifax. The one in Montreal is just amazing. Hi, Janet. Good to have you with us, honey. Janet Mills. Thank you for my e-card the other day. That was very sweet. Yeah. No, it's dangerous. Hobby Lobby is dangerous. Fun, but dangerous. What's the matter, Gizmo? Yeah? You having a tough day? My big Tom. Robin has her Gizmo. I have my Gizmo. My Gizmo is a 20-pound tomcat. And he was just announcing that he needs some scritches. He's a bit needy. He likes some scritches. So, almost done. All these little bits peeking in and around here. All of these things get cleaned up as we go. So don't panic if it doesn't look too neat and tidy, because as you're working, those things all get cleaned up. And things start to look a lot prettier as you go. This is that ugly stage that we all talk about. Michael's, I can go into hours and I can get out of there under $100, but I can't do that at Home Depot, at Hobby Lobby. Oh, Donna, you have a 20-pounder too named Pumpkin. I love it. Yes, Karen and Gizmo have a love-hate relationship. It's so funny. He has mellowed somewhat, though. But I still don't think he likes her much. It's pretty funny. It used to be Soot, but then Soot warmed up to Karen. But Gizmo's funny. He's our big buddy. Gizmo's our big buddy. He's big, chunky fella. So I'm switching to a rigger, a number 2 rigger, to do these stems. I want to get those just because they're so narrow, right? I don't want them to be too messed up. There we are. So we're almost done. I just finished painting in some of these little leaves in here. And the stems on these tulips. There's a lot of stuff going on back there in this piece. All these little details in the back. You kind of have to keep them straight because you're going to have to separate them all at some point. Here we are. There we go. I want to keep all these things neat and tidy. Well, as neat and tidy as we can. The fun part about this is that they don't have to be absolutely immaculate base coats because we're going to be layering in so many other colors. We've still got about 4 other colors to go into these leaves. So I don't get too worked up over it, quite honestly. As long as you get the direction going. I think the direction is the most important thing, more so than whether or not it's a fully opaque base coat. So that everything lines up the way it's supposed to. There we go. So we've got all of our base coating done. Spell checker. Guano? The brush I'm using is a 0 rigger. You can use a number 2 as well, or whatever brush you feel is going to work the best for those small areas. But yes. So I'm going to dry that real quick. Miss Karen was visiting last fall, and Gizmo, I guess, had forgotten who she was or didn't realize who she was. So he was, taking the pets and the scritches. And then all of a sudden, it's like he suddenly remembered, oh, wait a minute, I don't like you. And his whole attitude changed. It was hilarious. But it's Gizmo. So, when I said that these flowers are not going to be that traditional float, shade, and highlight, we are going to float, but we're not going to worry about whether or not they're crisp and clean. The idea is just to get a little color in there, and then we're going to do a little soft blending at the same time. So I've got a dome blender. Where is my mop? I have a nice soft mop. Going to keep that handy. So we're not really worrying about whether or not these floats are absolutely perfect. More worried about getting the tone right than we are about the perfection in the floats. Now, my shading color for these daffodils is this, tea berry. I am obsessed with this color. It is such a cool thing to shade flowers with and to shade daffodils with. So we want a painterly look from this. So we're not really being overly concerned with getting absolute perfection for these floats. So I'm going to, what brush do I want? I'm going to use my 1/2 inch faux squirrel. I want a nice soft angled brush. I'm going to use a little bit of Joe Sonia, my brush, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of that tea berry. And I'm going to blend this brush out quite a bit. I don't want this color to be, here, I'm going to move this up a bit so you can see what I'm doing. I don't want it full strength. I want it a little transparent. So I'm using a fair amount of liquid. And I'm going to start in the center of this daffodil. And we're going to put a float like this. Just a pity pat type thing. So that if you see how those lines go as you're putting it in, you're going to form a little bowl inside the mouth of that daffodil. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. So see how I'm holding the brush at an angle, and then I'm just sort of bringing it in and moving it around so that it follows the shape, just like that. I don't want this to be a straight across float or a U-shaped float. I want it to be kind of wonky so that we get this. So it helps create a little bowl in the center of the flower. And you're going to continue using that thinned color to shade the leaf, the petals down towards the center like that. So it's a very loose float. It's not perfect. And when your brush runs out, it's not enough water, grab a little water or a little glaze and bring some more back in. And again, in underneath, separate the petals, just like that. It's very painterly, very loose, very watery floats, almost like watercolor. So we're not looking for perfection. We are kind of looking, oops, I got a little too much color on there. That's okay. I can come in and deepen that. Separate the petals. we're going to, so we've got that first float in. Look at that. So then, remember we've got this little bowl at the bottom. Going to put a little shadow underneath. There's a little ruffle at the edge of that flower. So we're going to put a shadow on this side and underneath that little ruffle. Just a little float, like so. And those little shadows, when they're placed in the right place, look what they do. So now our little flower doesn't look flat anymore. It's got a shape. Just like that. And I love that you can put layers and layers and layers of this color in. It just gets brighter as you do it. So same thing for the other one. Make sure that you separate shade underneath. And this petal here has got a little turnover on it. So we're going to shade up against that turnover too. So it gets that little flip. Again, don't forget, shade up against. This is really loose and not perfect. We want these to have a loose look. We want them to look imperfect. So just a loose, watery float. Doesn't have to be perfect. But look at how much depth those flowers have already, and all we've done is put a little tea berry in. So a little more glaze or water, pick up a tiny amount of color, blend it out. Come back in and deepen a few spots. If you need the center to be a little deeper, put a little more color in. It's so much easier to control if you put things on in thin, overlapping layers of color. Yeah, that Karen's dad, God love him, he is such a treasure, honestly. Karen, tell him why his back is sore. Oh, her father is just one of the dearest people. I've known Karen for decades, quite literally decades. We have been friends a very, very long time. And her mom and dad have been guests in our house and vice versa. Her mom and dad are just the neatest people, but her dad is an absolute treasure. I just adore that man. And for him to celebrate a 100th birthday last week was incredible. My floats are very watery. I put a lot. Yeah, he was moving an upright freezer. A 100-year-old man is moving an upright freezer and is now complaining of a little twinge. Yep. So we're going to put a little bit of that tea berry and form a little, I think that one's a little strong, but we'll soften it. There we go. Just going to put a center vein in a few of these petals. Just like so. And then just soften it with that mop brush. Lay it down and just soften it. Soften the whole thing. Don't worry about the edges of the float or anything like that. You don't need to. Just put that center vein in, soften it with the mop. Just like that. And this is where you get all of that texture and all of the depth in that flower. Look at that. So now we've got nice shape everywhere. And we're going to do this one as well. There we go. Now, this little daffodil, I'm going to bring this up. Yeah, a body in motion stays in motion. I agree. The man built a gazebo on his property last summer, for heaven's sake. You can't stop them. So, I'm going to show you a little trick. We want to get, instead of it looking like just a cup, we want to get a little ruffle in here. So when you look at the edges of these daffodils, you can see there's all these dips. It's got a ruffled edge. We want to enhance that ruffle. So on the lower portion of some of those ruffles, we're going to put a little float. So where it goes up, we're going to put a little float in there, like so. And they're going to come around like that, so that those colors all mix. And then you're going to soften them like so. So now you can see we've got that nice little ripple effect on the edges of the petals. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. So when you can see where we put those little lines, this is our ripple. And then I soften them. So there's our ripple. Hey, Dorothy. So we've got those nice little shadings in there. So I want to show you something really cool. This looks quite orangey. I've got a little bit of saffron yellow. I love this color. Saffron yellow is just so, so pretty. And anytime I want something to really look vibrant and bright, this is what I like doing, especially over yellows. Especially because you can take a little saffron and thin it out with a little bit of water or glaze. I mean, really thin it out. And then when you come in over top of your petals, over top of all of those shading colors, look what happens to that daffodil. And it's just thinned saffron. So bang zoom. Now all of those yellows become more sunny, more vibrant. All of that tea berry becomes richer, more orange. Just everything comes to life. So look at that. And it's just a wash. I'm just covering everything with a bit of that heavily thinned saffron. So look at the difference. This is without the saffron, and this is with it. So it really jumps, and all we've done is just put a wash of that higher grade yellow over top. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to start adding highlights. Now the highlights are really going to pop when we do this. And remember, this is just like the one coat of color. So almost dry. I love that. I love this look. I'm watching. Absolutely, Michelle. It looks fabulous on almost any yellow flower. If you want to really amp up the yellow a bit, really like get the depth, that simple wash of saffron over top just goes pow, jumps right up. And it's just a wash, heavily thinned. but that color just comes alive. And it's like putting a coat of varnish on something. There's that immediate gratification of seeing the color just jump. I love it. So, a little bit of heavily thinned saffron yellow over top of our daffodil. And that color just comes to life. All of those tea berry tones, all of that baby duck. You want that really sunny yellow. And that little wash of saffron gives you that. And I love how this looks. Everything just comes to life. Love it. So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white and a little bit of baby duck. Just a little. We want to make like a buttery yellow. And we're going to float a little of that on the highlight sections of our leaves, our petals. Good Lord. So, little float of that there, little float of that there. This is just a little highlight. It just makes everything pop a little bit. So, pick up a little baby duck and a little bit of warm white. Doesn't have to be perfect. Look at this. And it's a soft float, so make sure that you thin that color out. I love it. That little bit of opaque yellow. And it's a buttery yellow. And I only chose to brush mix it because I didn't see the point in adding yet another yellow to our color palette when we already have two really good ones in it. So we'll just make use of what we already have. So I've put just a weak float just to look how soft that gets with that little bit in there. I'm going to use that same color to go in between. Remember all of those shaded spots? We're going to put a little pop of that in between. So on that highlight point, just a little bit of that. Look at that. So it's very wishy-washy. And then you're going to put a little bit of that lighter color along the ruffle. It's just a little, I wouldn't even call it a float. You're just putting a little of it there. And then take your mop, soften it. Look at that. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So on those areas where in between, doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just tapping a little color in. Look at that. And I'm going to go this way and put a little bit of that white right at the edge. It's just a tap. It's not white. It's that mixture. So just a tap of that lighter color right there. So there is the ruffle on our daffodil. And I'm going to put my highlights in. And it is very loose. I'm not looking for perfection. I like that softer element. I like those imperfect, very loose little floats because we're not looking for an absolute perfection. Bunny ears, bunny leaves. Is there somewhere, find a list, there is a complete list in the pattern. And we have that available on the website. So if you want to paint it, we do have the pattern for it. And there is a complete list of the colors required on the pattern. So I'm going to dry this real quick. And then we're going to deepen some of this shading and add a few little tiny details to the centers of our daffodils. I'm going to use a little bit of the baby duck, and I'm going to put 3 little strokes of yellow right here, just like that, in the center. So essentially 3 little comma strokes, like so. Have a look. Just a little cluster of 3. And then on each of those clusters, I'm going to put a series of little tiny dots of that tea berry. Just tiny little dots. And then we're going to add a couple of little dots of warm white, just to keep things bright in the center here. Draw the eye in. Just a few, like that. Doesn't have to be much. So we now have this sort of ragged little edge we need to take care of. And I'm going to use my extra long detail liner. And I'm going to thin out some warm white. I want it to come off the brush very inky. And I'm going to put I'm going to roughly follow the edge of that ruffle with some thinned warm white. And I said it's roughly. I'm not doing this perfectly, and it is not fully opaque. But we are just adding a nice ruffled edge. Simple along the edge of our daffodil. Now, if you find it's too bright, you can bring a little of that yellow in, that baby duck. And then you can add that same squiggly line to each edge of our petals. I am a big fan of adding broken edges and little squiggly lines to the edges of things. It softens them. It keeps them from looking too hard and too stiff. And so I really like that sort of distressed line as it goes around the petals. So you can decide if you want it to be a smooth line or a squiggly one. That's entirely up to you. I'm a fan of the squiggly. And you're going to do the same thing, just essentially outline your daffodil. Don't be afraid to throw in a little stroke here and there. Add a little curly cue to the ends of the petals if you want to. You do you. I am a fan of squiggly. I like the squiggly. This is meant to be loose and easy. You remember the bunny leaves? There's too many leaves and not enough bunny ears, and I kept calling them bunny leaves instead of ears. What's for dinner tonight? We are having maple salmon. So I make a marinade for fish using soy sauce, a little bit of ginger, and maple syrup. And I glaze my salmon fillets with it and put it under the broiler. And then we have that with a little bit of saffron rice. It's very tasty. And I got some fresh asparagus, so we'll have that too. So we have leaves galore back there. And I will come back to finishing these daffodils once I get the leaves done. So we have a base color of lush green in here, and we're going to shade it all with a little bit of plantation pine. So this is color number 1 going on top of these leaves. So plantation pine, I love this color. I actually use plantation pine quite a bit. So I'm going to start with a float at the base of each of these leaves and where they overlap. So if they're tucking underneath a flower, they get a float of plantation pine, like so. You cannot fit through that door, Maze. Hi, baby. You can't come through. Oh, that dog is too much for TV. Yeah, I'm sorry, but you can't. Maze has her head and shoulders through the cat door, but the rest of her won't fit.
That rib cage barely.
There's no way it's gonna fit. So we're going to separate each of those leaves. So we're starting with the leaves that are the furthest away from us. Yes, puppy, I know. Here we are.
Go. Really?
Oh my gosh, that dog is too much. Oh, I love fish. Love fish. Then again, I live on the East Coast. Oh, Robin, she couldn't get stuck. There's just no way that that chest of hers is making it through that door. It just isn't. She'd be lucky. She's so barrel-chested. You saw her Valentine picture. I gave my husband a unicorn for Valentine's Day, and Maze wanted it badly. She kept looking at it and looking at my husband and looking at the unicorn and then looking back at my husband. So eventually he caved, and he gave her the unicorn. 11 pounds. Oh my goodness. Or 11 euros, I should say. So it'd be $11 per pound. What did I pay for it today? $56 for 5 pounds. No, more than that. 8 pounds. I bought a large piece of salmon. I bought half a salmon. And I'll prepare some of it for dinner tonight, and the rest will go in the freezer for later on. So I'm separating all of these stems with floats of plantation pine. I love this color. It's just so rich. But again, I'm not really fussing with this. Remember what I said about I don't worry about that initial base coat because I'm using so many other colors over top of this. This is why. I'm using lush green, plantation pine, black green, and margarita, and warm white on these leaves. So Deanna Swindlehurst. Anything from the sea is not for me. Oh my goodness. Oh, and see, and I'm the opposite. If it had flippers and fins, I'll eat it. Oh, pesto crust on salmon is to die for. I'm just impatiently waiting for lobster season. I can't wait for lobster season. I haven't had a feed of lobster in about 2 years. I'm way overdue. I'm at the point now where I'd happily drive, take the ferry over to the island to go get some. So, look at that. So I'm separating all of these leaves and stems. And yes, they do look a little wanting at this point, and they will. But quite honestly, they're going to sort themselves out here shortly. This is the fun part about paint. You can do whatever you want. Paint is wonderfully versatile. You can make it do almost anything. Literally. So I'm going to shade underneath petals wherever anything overlaps. You want to get a shadow of plantation pine. If you need to switch to a smaller brush to put it in, go ahead and do so. So again, it's going to look a little rough for a bit. That's all right. I usually switch to a smaller brush for the smaller areas. And I will, especially in these little tight spots. So for now, I'm going to use all of my big angled brush to put the shading in on these bigger areas. And I love that the plantation pine, it gives look at that. Gives that green a really nice depth. You had lobster last weekend? Oh. Best lobster I've ever eaten in my entire life was on Grand Manan. And it was in a very early part of the season when the water was still very, very cold. The lobster was spectacular. And Grand Manan is my favorite place. I absolutely love Grand Manan. Also love the South Shore of Nova Scotia. That's a difficult one. So I'm going to switch to a smaller angled shader. I've got a 3/8 Dynasty Faux Squirrel. Yeah. No, it's not really cheap. Catfish is go-to. Ooh. I like catfish. I like it blackened, personally, but I like catfish. But there's not too much fish out there that I won't eat. I love octopus. I love squid. So I'm putting a shadow on all of these smaller areas. This is where I get to clean things up a little. Deepen those shadows. Get the shadows on those stems. Here we go. There. Okay, I think we're getting there. So look at that. We've got that first layer in where all the leaves, fold in over top of each other. So I'm going to switch now to some black green. Yep, lobster season starts in mid-May. So a little bit of black green, and this is where we're going to start paying attention to the neatness thing is with this black green. So I'm going to deepen my shading up against my leaves here with a float of black green. And I'm also going to put my center vein in with that black green too. Just like that. All the way down. And this is where everything starts to separate a little bit. This is where you get those nice dark shadows and those nice clean lines. Everything becomes a little more sharp. And it's because of that high contrast. The minute you put that darker green in, you get that higher contrast in the shading. So when I put that shadow in, look what happens to that stem. That stem jumps to the front. And I'm going to put a darker shadow there and along there. Love it. So those layers of color, each one you put on, although you may not ever see that initial base color the same again, it combined with the plantation pine and the black green gives you that nice earthy green tone. And those shadows with that black green, when they're nice and sharp, are what give you all of that contrast that we need to give us those beautiful defining lines. And so all of those little things start to work together. And it cleans things up. That sharp contrast, when you lay that color in, is what gives you those nice clean edges and all those great colors. What is the Jo Sonja medium I use? I use Jo Sonja's Fast Dry Glaze. It's this one. And I use it for everything. It's my base coating medium. It's my line work. It's my float medium. It's my do everything medium. I use this for everything. And if you're really hard pressed, which you can be from time to time, you can use their magic mix. It will do a lot of the same things. I still prefer the Fast Dry Glaze though, but magic mix does good things too. So let's continue to lift and separate. That's what I was trying to get at. Lift and separate. Look at that. There's our shading. Love it. Love it when a plan comes together. Look at that. So don't forget that center vein. Oops. Got a little too much liquid in my brush here. There we go. Yes. Not getting the result I wanted. There we go. Nice shadows. Nice deep shadows. There we go. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So we've got all those nice dark shadows in. The nice part is you can deepen them more as you go along, and we'll adjust them when we start putting in highlights. Magic Mix, fast drying clay medium is awesome. Magic Mix is pretty good too. This one here, I have used Magic Mix for a lot of faux finishes and things like that. If you run out of the fast dry glaze, this is a pretty reasonable this is a pretty reasonable facsimile. So this one will open things up and it dries matte, doesn't dry with a shine. So it's this is a good substitute if you can't get your hands on it, but I much prefer the fast dry glaze. I think it's the viscosity because the Magic Mix is a little thicker and I like the viscosity of the fast dry glaze. It's nice and fluid, works really well. And yes, Phyllis, it was the Lift and Separate was for the Wonder Bra commercial. So I'm going to dry this real quick. We're going to add a highlight to these leaves. And this works up, once we get past this point, this is going to work up pretty quickly. So we've just got the tulips left to do and that butterfly. So our highlight color for this piece, for these leaves, is Margarita. That tends to be my go-to highlight color for greens. I just like the tone of it. It's a high yellow green, so it works in so many things. Where do I get the glaze? I get mine from Country Bear. Right here in Canada. You can get it from the josonia.com or from Chroma in the States. It's also available at Dick Blick. But I get my fast dry glaze from Country Bear. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that Margarita. I'm going to blend it out fairly well for highlight, and we're going to use that for our highlight color on our leaves. So on the stems, the highlight color goes on the opposite side, so to the left. So I'm using it sparingly in here. Just a little float. There is your float, putting that color in. And I'm also using my little mop brush just to soften things nicely. So wherever you need a highlight up against an opposite that shading, I'm going to use a little bit of that thinned Margarita. I love Margarita. It's just opaque enough that it gives us a nice soft highlight. I like the vibrancy of it. It's a high yellow green, so it gives you that, you know, that sunlight that we need in a lot of these highlights. Right there. Da, 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 da. I'm a fan. I like Margarita green. It's just such a great highlighting color. So as you can see, I am not really worrying about whether or not these are absolutely perfect highlights, but look at how it separates everything so nicely. Robin, I'm with you there. I keep 6 bottles of Jo Sonja Fast Dry Glaze in my closet at all times. I'm terrified I'll run out one day. So I order them at 6 to 8 at a time. Sometimes you can't get 8, but I'll take them if I can. So there is the point of my leaf that flips underneath. So look at that. So we have our highlighting in place. Again, really simple, very painterly, not a super we're not worrying about getting these absolutely perfect. We want this to have that painterly look. So it's a little easier. So I need a little bit of white. Come on. Okay, I'll take the lid off. Pinecraft probably does, yep. So I got a little bit of warm white here. I'm just going to highlight the ruffles here a little bit. They weren't quite standing out enough. There we are. So I'm going to grab my baby duck and some thinned warm whites. A little bit of baby duck. A little bit of warm white. I want to make a very pale yellow, almost white. Like, if you don't want to mix it, use a little bit of light buttermilk will do the trick for this. All we're using this for is this. So, me and my scribbly lines. If you do any of my designs, you know I like my scribblies. So, little scribbly lines. Don't forget to do the same thing to the edges of the petals. I like me a squibbly line. Put a little curlicue at the end of it if you want to. This gives you the opportunity to clean up the edges. Add your squiggly lines to things. I like a squiggly line. And it allows you to detail things, clean up edges, you know, the imperfections that perhaps will bug you for a little bit. I don't worry about the imperfections. I like the imperfections. Little lines like so. Just, you know, thin stroke to highlight that highlighted side. Go ahead and do it. I like it. And there's our daffodils. Now, you can take a little bit of heavily thinned asphaltum and deepen some of your shading areas. So where's my 3/8? So if I take a little bit of asphaltum, which is that brown that I love using, I'm going to take just a little bit. I don't need much. Just a touch on the brush. Thin it out well. We don't want it full strength. Don't be afraid to deepen a few shadows. It just tones them. If you thin it out, it just tones them. It doesn't make them muddy, doesn't make them dark, but it tones them and deepens them at the same time. So if you want those colors to be a little richer, a little deeper, don't be afraid to throw a little asphaltum in there. If you find that perhaps some of those shadings aren't deep enough, dark enough, a little bit of asphaltum over top will help with that. I use the color sparingly and heavily thinned, and it makes a world of difference. It just gives everything a nice deep tone. And you can do the same thing to those ruffles. If those colors aren't quite cutting it, don't be afraid to throw a little of that in to deepen it. And see now look how enhanced those ruffles are. And it's loose. I am not looking for perfection. I just want to tone it a little so the floats are loose. It just gives everything a little more depth without making things look dark and heavy. And it's all about depth. There. Look at that. So now we've got that little bit. Look at those daffies. Pretty daffies. I love daffodils. So, purple tulip. These ones here, I'm using, this is purple iris. It's very similar to dioxazine purple. This one is a little more transparent, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be a little more transparent. So much like the asphaltum, I'm going to use a fair amount of liquid. whether it's glaze or water, and blend it out. This way you have control. And then I'm going to start with the darkest areas of my tulips, and I'm going to separate all of those petals. So the deepest areas of my tulip get a float of that purple iris, just like that. And then towards the front, you're going to separate those petals like so. So again, not absolutely perfect. So on your purple tulips, you're going to separate all of that like so. Deepest areas of that tulip get that float, and then you can separate the petals just like that. And then there is a bit of a vein, a center vein on that petal right there. You're going to put a little float. I love this color. Purple iris is such a great color to shade with. So there is that center vein back there. And there is a little one here too. So float around, and then I'm going to walk that float up just like that. I love a good tulip. The nice thing about this particular color, this purple iris, is that it is very transparent, and so it makes beautiful shadows, especially when you start layering them. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to do the same thing to our pink tulips. And our shading color for the pink tulips is that joyful pink, which is a very transparent version of pink. It's along the same line as the purple iris. It has a very transparent tone. And it's almost a jewel tone, like a deep ruby. It's such a vibrant pink. But add a little fast dry to it and blend it out, and you get a nice rich pink. So I'm going to shade the bottom of my tulip here with a float of that pink. Look how pretty that is. I want it a little deeper. There we go. So we've got a little bit of pink for this tulip down here. And then we've got this one over here. This one, again, we're working from the center out. This tulip has nice bright pink in there. Separate all of those petals. There we go. And then we're going to shade along here, across the bottom, and we're going to walk that up a little bit because we have a nice little float that's going to come down here. we need to put that nice little shadow right there. So that we have that little line in there. And then we're going to dry that really well. And then we're going to do that again with another layer of floats until we get the depth that we want. So I'm going to grab my 1/2 inch angle. I'm going to grab a clean one. There's an idea. A clean 1/2 inch angle. Ooh, there's a nice one. And there we go. So now going to deepen the shading inside our tulips. Those darker areas towards the back need to be a little deeper. And don't forget to float them so they stay layered. There we go. That purple iris is just such a pretty... Hi, Terry. Yes, we do. Are you over winter? I'm not. I'm still waiting for my big snowstorm. I need to have at least one through the winter, and we haven't. I like winter. I'm one of those weird people that likes winter. I need the change of seasons. I love winter. Fall is my favorite season. I need my fall. Absolutely love fall. I love my winter. Okay. So look at coming along. I'm going to come in with another float. I like that darker purple at the base of the flower. I just think it needs that nice dark tone. And the fun part is that we can make this as dark as we like because we can clean up all those rough edges. Again, I've only got one coat on here, so it leaves us a lot of flexibility. Watch this. There's our shading. I love all that dark purple in there. Gives us that, look at that. So when you put that second layer in, it takes on even more shape. So now that we've got that shading in place, I'm going to grab my 3/8 angle and I'm going to grab some wisteria, which is that same color. Remember, we used that color for the base coat. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of wisteria and I'm going to blend it as if to float. Make sure you've got a nice blended float. And this is where all those little goofs that you may have made when you put that shading in, this is where you get to clean that up. So I'm going to float that base color right up against the edge of all of that shading. So now we've got this really nice clean edge. Highlight at the tips. Remember, it's a nice float, right? So the color is almost transparent. So look at how soft we get that nice soft edge. That's another reason why I don't really worry about getting that first base coat fully opaque, because it doesn't need to be, because we're going to be putting so many layers of color on. So it doesn't need to be fully opaque. because we're going to come back in and put a little bit more color in. So here we go. Watch what cleans up this edge. I love that it cleans up so nicely. And it gives everything that nice soft look. Look at that. So now we've got that nice clean edge. Look at our tulip. You come down to this one. This one's looking a little questionable. It's not looking all that smooth and clean, so I'm going to make it look smooth and clean. So that little bit, and then look at this. So there is our smooth and clean. That having that little bit of opacity overlapping your shading, it softens things, mutes them a little bit, and it gives you a nice clean line. And right here. So the next time you're really struggling with keeping clean edges on something, try this method. Having that float of your base color to go back over top and clean up all those edges, it will help make everything come together very nicely. So we've got a little bit here. Just cleans up a whole bunch of things. The only thing you really have to do is just adjust your brush size to suit the area that you're painting. So I've got a nice small angled shader. I'm using a 3/8. If you feel more comfortable with something smaller, then by all means use it. Have always preferred the larger brushes. I'm not a fan of little teeny tiny. So when I get into doing this type of shading and highlighting, I tend to gravitate towards more moderate sizes, middle sizes. Hi, Julie. So I want to deepen a couple of spots right here. So a little extra in some of these areas with a little more of that deeper purple, just because I like it. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing with the pink. So, joyful pink, brush it out. I want to deepen some of this, not quite deep enough. So I'm going to clean it up a little. I do love this color. Joyful Pink is one of those new colors that came out a couple of years ago, and it's just got oodles of vibrancy. So I'm going to come back to my base color, which was that poodle skirt pink, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the wisteria, but we're going to do it to pink tulips. So load it up as if to float, blend it out well, and then this is where you get to crisp up those edges because you're using a more opaque color. Look at that. So nice clean edges. Brighten your highlight. Look at that. Brighten the edges. I just love what this does for it. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing to this one over here. Just to clean up edges. There we go. Now, I want to add an even brighter highlight to my tulips, and I'm going to do that with thinned warm white. This is going to soften them the same way we softened everything else. So I've brushed this out heavily thinned, and it's just a soft float at the tips and the highlight areas on the tulips with a little bit of heavily thinned warm white. It is not perfect at all. It's just a little bit of that thinned warm white. I love this color. And you can be loose with it. Don't worry about getting it absolutely perfect. Just a nice little wash of that warm white. Remember what we did with the saffron yellow? We're going to soften these tulips with warm white in much the same way. I love that little bit of highlight right at the edge. Just makes our tulips a little bit brighter. We're going to do the same thing to the pink. Blend it out well. And it is very much almost a wash. Kind of a float comes out to the tip, but not really a sharp highlight. Something more muted. And I do the same thing to the edges of this tulip here. There we go. I moved too quick. I know that. So there's our tulips. We're almost done. We're going to do a little bit of line work. I like to thin out a little bit of that. Remember what I did with the daffodils? I thinned out a little bit of the base color with a little bit of warm white. So it's very, very pale. A little more warm white. There we go. And I'm just going to add, again, a loose line to gently outline my petals. Again, you can use a straight line or you can use soft ones. I am a fan of the soft line, which means mine tend to be more scribbly. But you can do it any way you like. Stroke for the highlight. I like a good highlight. There's that little bit of pink. Love it. It softens the flowers. And then for the purple tulips, you're going to use a little bit of that wisteria. And again, a little bit of warm white. Thin it out. It's going to be almost inky. And I like the softer line. I like soft and less defined. I just find it's very relaxing to paint this way. Yeah, I'm a quick bunny. I don't have all day. I have other stuff I gotta do too. As much as I would love to spend all day just sitting and painting, I have a million and one other things I gotta do. But I love to just keep things simple. So, I've got a nice delicate outline on my tulips, on all my pink tulips. So I'm going to rinse out my liner And we're going to come up here to the butterfly. Now, I chose to do a pink butterfly. You can choose to do a purple one if you like. The technique is the same regardless. So we're going to use a little bit of that joyful pink. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm repeating the colors from whatever tulip I used. So if I painted the purple tulip, I would use the same base color and the same shading colors, etc. So for this butterfly, we're going to shade close to the body with joyful pink. Just like that. I want a nice little float covering about 1/3 of the butterfly's wings. Just like that. It doesn't have to be a perfect float. Where did my mop brush go? There it is. So I'm going to soften that with my mop. And then I'm going to repeat that float at the tips of the wings, the outer edges of the wings, like so. So that it comes in about 1/3 of the way. And then again, I'm going to soften that float with my mop brush. And again on the other wing. Just like that. And then again, I'm going to soften that color. And I've got a spot here that I'm not happy with. There we go. There. So we've got a nice little gradient on our butterfly. So it's darkest towards the edge near the body and darker at the outside edge there. And I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to put our line drawing back in place so that we can put in the details of the wings. We don't have a whole lot left to do. So I kept my line drawing where it needed to be. And I'm going to grab my graphite paper, and I'm going to put it over top of my butterfly. And where does my red pen go? There it is. Nope, that's not it. There it is. So I'm going to trace all of the details of the wings. Like so. Easy peasy. There we go. Et voila. So we have lines on our wings. I'm going to remove my line drawing now because I can. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with that butterfly. Now, I'm going to use, I think I've got a 1/4 inch angled shader here somewhere. This is about the smallest brush I've ever used. I'm going to use a little bit of warm white, and I'm going to blend it out to float. And the loops inside the wings, those little teardrop shapes, I'm going to put a highlight on the rounded end of each of those teardrop shapes. Like so. Just so you can see where I'm putting that. So on those teardrop shapes, like that. There's only one in the bottom wing. So little highlight there. Just like so. So pretty straightforward. Now we're going to be using a Posca pen. I'm using, this one is a 0.7 millimeter. I like these a lot. This is a Uni Posca from the Mitsubishi Pencil Company. This is a 0.07 millimeter. The pen that I use to trace my patterns is this. It's a Uniball Signo red gel pen. So we've got that highlight in, and this is just fun. I'm going to use my Posca pen, and I'm going to paint in the body of my butterfly. The nice thing about these Posca pens, these aren't actually markers. They are a paint pen. And so they have paint in them. And then I'm going to use the Posca pen to go around the outside edge of my flutterby. Like so. It is acrylic paint, so it's not going to be bothered by any of the spraying we do or any of the vernishing you do. And this is going to detail. This is just such a fast way to do it. Look at that. And then you're going to use that same pen and you're going to go around all of those details. Trace those details with your Posca pen, including all of these lines that come off the various points. Just like that. Now, if you don't have a black Posca pen, you can do this with a liner brush. Works just fine. But this just solves so many issues. And it simplifies something that should be fairly simple. So, just like that. So like I said, if you don't have a black Posca pen, you can use a liner brush. You could actually even use, what the heck is the name of that pen? Identi-pen. See, I knew I'd get it if I had to stop and think about it, but I knew I'd get it. So we can do those lines off of the wings. Look at that. So we've got all of our little details on this little butterfly. But then check this out. So you can take that paint pen and do this. So we want that sort of irregular edge along the edge of our butterfly. Doesn't have to be a solid bar, but we're going to just use your Posca pen to put those little details in. So there's that little edge on our butterfly. And you can do that all the way around all the wings, or winglets, I should say. So there is our little detail at the edge of our butterfly. Talk about simple, right? Easy peasy. And it looks great. So you can take that line a little deeper if you like. If you want to come down there with it, look at that. So your little Posca pen, your little black Posca pen is pretty flippin' handy. So let's dry that. Real quick. I really love these Posca pens for this. It's just the simplest way to add a lot of these details, especially, you know, the hands don't always work as easily as as they should. So I really like the idea of using a pen to solve some of that problem. And for me, this solves a big problem. So there we go. Look at that. So you can grab a white Posca pen. I got this set of 0.7 millimeter off of Dick Blick. It's a great little set. It's been very handy. You can use your white Posca pen. I'm just, oops, daisy, got my hand in the pink paint. You can use your white Posca pen to put in your little details on the wings, just like this. Just tap it on. Or you can use the stylus and do it with dip dots or your favorite brush, just to add those little tiny dot elements to things. If you don't feel like doing it with a liner brush or a stylus. And you can also add the highlight to the body of your butterfly. Now, if you want to, you can do your antenna with a brush, or you can do it with your Posca pen. How easy is that? You gotta love a good Posca pen. And because they're acrylic, they work with everything. So I'm going to dry that real quick, and then we're going to talk about this lettering. Yes, Terry, it does. Makes all the lines nice and consistent. Yep. Now, we're going to do a little bit of shading for this lettering. And even if it is done with a Posca pen, we still need to make it look substantial. So I'm going to grab my 3/8 angled shader. And the color we're using for this is the same color that we shaded the outside edge with, which is that teal mint. Really pretty color. And I'm using a little bit of Joe Sonia's with that and thinning it out. And we're going to float to the inside edge of each letter, like so. Like that. Super easy. Look at that. So that little float to the right side of every element it may seem like a little thing, but it makes a difference when the lettering is done. So, see that? Little float. You can get the Posca pens from Amazon. Honestly, the best price I've seen for them has been Dick Blick to get that set, or you can buy them in individual colors on Amazon. And the 0.7s are available on Amazon as well. I'm a big fan. I absolutely love my Posca pens. Now, above this, we have a small printed letter. It's very tiny, so it's hard to get it, hard to get the shading in right. So here's what I do. Because it's so small, I'm just going to run a float along the bottom of the letters all the way across. Just like so. And it's going to make our lettering stand up. So I'm going to dry that really well. And this is so fun. I love doing this. And Sandy does carry the white pens. I'm out of stock on the white pens right now. So I've got my black Posca pen. And this is where I do my lettering. Don't forget to cross the F like I did. Sheila had a great deal of fun at my expense earlier today when she discovered that I forgot to cross the F in the original piece. Forest for the trees, that's what I say. So there's our flowers. And then let that dry or dry it really well. And then we've just got a little bit to do. And then you're just going to print this lettering, the earth. I chose this font because it's so, it's kind of wonky, but not too wonky. So it's very forgiving. And it's just a simple box print. So the earth laughs in flowers. And I love these Posca pens. So if you want to fix a boo-boo like I did there, you can do that. You can adjust your lettering. It can be thick, it can be thin. You can do whatever you want. It's yours. I love the handwritten look of this. I think that really appeals to me on a lot of levels. So I got that nice and dry. And then I've just got a couple of little things to do. I want to make our butterfly look like he's hovering a little bit. So I'm going to put a little drop shadow in. And I want it to be on this side because the light is coming from this direction. So I'm going to put a float of that teal mint right there. And right here. There we go. I'm a fan. I like a little drop shadow. Makes a world of difference. There we go. So we got a nice little hovering butterfly. So finishing this is super easy. We're going to spatter this with a little bit of thinned warm white. Just a little. I find a little bit of spatter just softens things nicely. So, and it keeps it looking nice and light. A little bit of warm white. And if Renee is watching, he will be down here shortly to set up the wheel for us. Hopefully. If he's not watching, then I could be sitting here talking for quite a while. But I've got a couple of finishing things, so we're good. And then I like to come in with a little bit of asphaltum, thinned asphaltum, to spatter. Just a little, it's a thing. And then I'm going to let this dry really well before I take the eraser to it and clean up any exposed graphite lines and whatnot. But I want to show you how I finish the edges on things like this. But I also want to show you something really neat. So, this is dry. We're going to do the edges with a little bit of metallic gold. But I also wanted to show you something neat. These will be up on my website shortly. But this is pretty nifty. This is a stand for the back of your surfaces. So essentially, this piece would be glued to the back of the surface like so. And then this piece slides into it to act as a stand for your piece. Pretty slick. Hi, Mace. Hi. Is that the pet me signal? Hi. What you doing? So I'm going to show you how to install one of those on the back of this. And Renee is going to get our list ready. So I'm priming my gold paint pen. I like to finish my edges on things. I'm using a gold paint pen. My favorite is Deco Color. I'm waiting for my new Deco Color pen to come, so I'm having to use this one. Also a pretty good one, I might add. This one is called from Let's Resin. This is a chrome marker in gold. I like this one too. But I like to finish my edges. And on a lot of these wood pieces, it's just a pain to try and paint the edge. So using a gold paint pen finishes them off nicely. Like so. Now, you'd find the center of your piece. And I'm going to be using my favorite glue, my new favorite glue. Thank you, Catherine. So this is Art Glitter, Designer Dries Clear Adhesive. This stuff is fantastic. And I put a little smear of this on the back of the stand, like so. And get it centered. And I like to have mine just, you know, a little bit above the edge. Doesn't have to be far, but just a little. And then jiggle it until the glue sets. Now for this piece, once this is dry, you put a little run of glue along the back of this and then slide that in there, and you've got a little stand to lean it up on. Works like a charm. So I've got this on there. That's going to dry. But there we go. The earth laughs in flowers. The stands will be up on the website, both websites, by the end of day today. So I'm going to let that dry. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this piece. I had a lot of fun designing it, and it was certainly a lot of fun to paint. Alrighty. You got the wheel set up?
Wheel button.
Oh, the wheel button. Where's the wheel button? Prize time. Okay.
Ta-da.
Oh, look at you. Is my pen fine or extra fine? The Posca pen is called the extra fine 0.07. Right there. Pin type is what it's called. So, holy smokes, how many names are on there today?
Just under 200.
Wow. Alrighty. So, you can spin it. And the giveaways today are a gorgeous set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes. You're going to love these. As well as some other goodies. We always put other fun things in, including a little Create bag. The first one goes to Linda Deming. Hi, niece. What you doing? Hi. Nope. Stay away from the palette. And we go again. Hey. Get out of there.
Spin again. What is?
Irene Burris. Mace, what are you doing?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's basically it. I'll chew on the roll of tape if I want to.
Irene.
And the last one will go to... And don't forget, if your name is called, go to my website at tracymoreau.net or tracycreates.net and click on the little speech bubble and send us your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you as soon as possible. Thanette Kiso. I don't think Thanette has ever won anything. I think this is the first time for her. Awesome.
Find out in the chat in a second.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me again today. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the New Canadian website. If you live in Canada, we're adding stuff every single day. So make sure you check it out. We've got lots of stuff going in there. The members, make sure that if you are a Canadian and you're a part of my membership group, to go in and create your account. And as soon as we see you pop up, leave us a little note that says that you're part of the membership group, and we will add you so that you'll be able to access all of your downloads and whatnot there very shortly. So everybody, thanks again for joining us. Hope you enjoyed today's project, and we love you. Stay safe. If you're way in the storms, tuck in, get ready. Hope you got your storm chips. Bye, everybody.
Bet your dog.
Oh my God.
Creepier and creepier with that.
Yeah, you're getting creepier. Yeah.